Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick video. So I talked a little bit about plasma water in a number of videos, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of water when it comes to health, both in a general organ sense as well as on a cellular level. So one of the properties of water is self-organization. So if you look at water and it moving through natural systems, it creates multiple dimensions of vortices. So water rivers bend, they also tumble, and they create vortices on the surface of water, which creates a specific structure. So anybody who knows anything about structured water has probably seen this shape before. So this shape kind of defines why living water, which is to say structured water, is so good for you. So when you look at the geometric structure of water, you end up with a completely different chemical process. So what we're taught to think of as water as these individual molecules, these little H2O, so you got two hydrogen molecules and an oxygen molecule, and that results in a neutral charge because hydrogen is a +1 charge and oxygen is a -2 charge. When you look at structured water, you end up with a completely different charge because in these hexagonal structures, which is very natural to water, it's the reason why snowflakes occur the way that they do and the reason why they have the kind of geometries that they do, you end up with a totally different charge. Because if you look at these lattice structures and as they stack together, they're sharing molecules. So what ends up happening is you get 1/3 of each of these oxygen molecules is essentially pushing charge towards the center, and half of each of these hydrogen molecules is pushing charge towards the center. So when you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 oxygen molecules that are divided into 3 parts, and you end up with 6 hydrogen molecules which are divided in half. So you end up with something a little different. So the natural structure of water creates this form. So if you take +1 times 6 halves of hydrogen and -2 times 6/3 of oxygen, you end up with H3O2. H3O2 has a net negative charge. This is effectively what is organizing your body. So if you look at a single droplet of water, there is a charge distribution, which is isolating positive and negative charges within a droplet of water. And on the exterior surface, you create a meniscus or a membrane of electrically charged area, or the exclusion zone, as it's called, when you study the fourth phase of water or plasma. And you end up with an internal structure, which is essentially being pushed together. So what ends up happening in a water droplet is that it creates organization. So when you look at a cellular body, the exterior cellular membrane is likewise negatively charged, and the interior nuclei is likewise positively charged, which means that things are naturally drawn into the center of the cell and then pushed out from center, which is how all cellular processes work in the body. So the negative charge of water actually affects healing. So if you wanted to read a little bit more about that, I would recommend that you read the book Body Electric. And this is also a great book, The Fourth Phase of Water. So when you look at the fourth phase of water, you can see that these charges and how these lattice structures line up electromagnetically actually create genetic structures. So these genetic structures are essentially water organizing down through a vortex pattern to the smallest possible levels. So when you're looking at cellular bodies as well as in a single lattice structure of water or a droplet of water, there is a connection there that is essentially organization. So water is effectively the self-organizing property that is creating what we know as life. It's happening on a crystalline level as well as a biological level. What's also quite fascinating is that the negative net charge within the body defines the healing potential within the body. So if you imagine a nervous tendril that's wrapped in vascular tissue, it is what's responsible for conducting energy through the body. We know this because if you cut the nerves in a body, you can completely immobilize a limb simply by cutting a nerve. So if you look at a nerve and you tried to put a cathode here and a cathode here and tried to measure the electrical potential, you wouldn't get any. That is because nervous system is a capacitor, not a wire. So the difference between a capacitor is a separation of charge. So if you look at the nervous tissue's sheathing, on the exterior it has one charge, and on the interior it has another charge, and it's what's called piezoelectric. So piezoelectric means that when you apply pressure to a nerve through the cardiovascular system, which is wrapping around all of your nerves, your cardiovascular system squeezing it releases that stored energy that is essentially in the capacitance of your nervous tissue, which results in the absorption of that energy within the muscular structures because they absorb to the center of the cellular body. So that ambient energy goes right through the cells and into the nucleic centers of your cellular tissues and allows cells to perform cellular functions. So you have an active capacitance which is being continuously charged by having an electrolytic fluid. So by having a negative net charge from H3O2, a natural source of water, it allows for cellular organization as well as the capacitance necessary for life to occur. So if your immune system or your nervous system becomes completely depleted, you can actually measure the difference in charge between a healthy person and an unhealthy person. This is also very relevant for many diseases such as autoimmune diseases as well as cancers. The reason why plasma water is very big on my list is because not only does it destroy pathogens within water and actively remove pharmaceutical contaminants by essentially burning them within the water, you're also dramatically increasing the available ambient charge within water, which is why it's so good for living structures. It's the reason why it makes plants have a higher degree of integrity, i.e., grow faster and become healthier. So as we look towards the future, I don't believe that pharmaceuticals are going to be the way and manner in which humanity achieves the greatest degree of health and vitality. That's going to be defined by how we treat water, because water is the fundamental building block for life, because it is effectively the self-organizing property of water which gives rise to life, as well as all definable structures that exist in and around water. So I just wanted to share this with you real quick. And there would be 3 books I would very highly recommend to understand the subject matter. One would be The Fourth Phase of Water. Another would be The Body Electric. Another would be The Cells, Gels, and the Engines of Life. When you look at the material in these books out of context, it's actually fascinating. But when you put it in context as far as how life functions and how we can optimize overall health in the body down to a cellular and genetic level, it becomes very obvious that we could revolutionize the planet by revolutionizing the manner and means in which we treat and purify water. So if you think this is interesting, like and subscribe, and please share with your friends, because we need to have a conversation about this, about how we are going to move forward and create health and vitality for the maximum number of people possible, including plants, animals, and the general environment. Thanks for listening. Have an awesome day.